Pearl Davis is someone who has been branded as a female Andrew Tate. On the surface, they're both anti-feminism and do share some themes. However, once you start to listen to more of what Pearl says, you realise she's in fact the complete opposite of Tate. Where Tate emphasises the downfall of men in modern society and the constant need for us to get better, Pearl decides that men can do no wrong and should in fact blame women for everything. In this video, we're going to go through just why Pearl is the last person a man should be listening to. As everyone knows by now, Pearl is a walking contradiction.
So I'm saying, the people that believe in divorce, go be in long-term relationships. Leave marriage for the people that actually believe in for better or for worse, for richer or for poor, in sickness and in health, till death do us part.
But doesn't the sanctity of marriage also rely on the woman being a virgin, so you wouldn't be able to get married?
What do you mean?
Well, you've spoken quite openly about how you're not a virgin, and so if you want to preserve that sanctity of marriage, then I just think that you're upholding standards that you don't actually live by.
Her ideal rubric for society is for a woman to be a virgin, married, stay at home and have kids in her 20s. This is a worthwhile and necessary expedition to have. However, it's hard to take seriously from a woman who is none of these things and is not even trying to be them. She brings women on her podcast and judges them for not being married or staying at home and cooking for their husbands, whilst Pearl does neither of these things.
This is what you said. You said, what's so special about me? Most women aren't special.
Well, that's down to your personal opinion.
No, I'm seriously, what do women bring in 2022 that is special?
Nothing.
Do most women have a cookbook? Do most women really know how to cater to a man? No. Are most women virgins on their wedding day? No. So what do most women bring in 2022 that is special?
In fact, she is capitalizing on the contrarian women shtick, raking in views and money and essentially being the boss bitch feminist she castigates for ruining relationships. She's always talking about how women shouldn't have an opinion, but she's a woman and all she does is voice her opinion. I think it's pretty fair to say that one gender is not responsible for the breakdown of a society. Andrew Tate makes a point for men to take personal responsibility and make better choices. This is the only way men can implement change and improve their lives. However, Pearl believes that solely women have damaged society, since they are inherently evil.
I would just look at every problem in society. It all comes from women.
To be fair, I just realized this the other day, but did you know that Hitler was made by a woman? That proves it.
Well, it's like you look at the homeless. Most of them come from single mother homes. You look at school shooters. Most of them come from single mother homes. You look at criminals, rapists. Most of them come from single mother homes. You look at what happens when women get power. So when men get power, they build societies. They do awesome things. When women get power, we're just not very good with it. And if you really dig in, if you actually do the work and interview men that are the known to be like deadbeat dads, most of the deadbeat dads don't really exist. They're exceptions. They're not the rule. And if you actually do the work and interview these guys, there's men that have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars fighting for their kids. And unfortunately, we're in a society where women can claim abuse. They can say he emotionally abused me and not see his kid for years.
The dystopian reality that Pearl lives in is a world where women either intentionally entrap men with kids who don't want any, leaving them with no choice but to leave, or intentionally plot to divorce the men that do want to stay so that they can raise their kids up to be criminals and school shooters. This false equivalence is of course ignoring the other side of reality where women divorce men because they are driven to that point. Pearl also makes a point of saying that if a guy is truly a deadbeat dad, the woman should have chosen to have a baby with a guy who will stay.
So we are 100% in control of who's born. So there is zero excuse to make a kid with a guy that's not going to stick around. Zero excuse.
I would also say that
it's not unfair to say the woman's judgment does have some personal responsibility in this. However, shouldn't the same standard be applied to men who have been entrapped into having kids? Is it not their poor judgment in who they're having sex with that has led them to be in that situation? Why is the narrative then that men are victims to these scheming, manipulative women and are justified in abandoning the household? She is constantly mollycoddling men and believes they are exempt from any blame which will just result in men staying weaker. This allows these already weak men to see themselves as blameless victims, causing them to never even try to improve their situation. Since they are too weak to want to change in the first place, this level of cope and delusion is comforting for them, and this is exactly what Pearl thrives off. Her rhetoric is something that makes them feel better about their lives of never being able to attract women, and instead of doing something about it, they consume her content instead and tell themselves that all women are bad anyway. Another thing about Pearl is that there is no sources or evidence for the statistics she spouts in almost every video.
What do you mean?
Don't leave. Women leave 70% of the time. If they're college educated, they leave 90% of the time.
Correct.
Women ruin relationships and they ruin families.
Women leave.
She just rattles off stats as a way of backing whatever woman-hating claim she is making that day. And as a viewer, there is no way of verifying it. As someone who claims to base her arguments on the rule, not the exception, she frequently uses personal anecdotes to prove her points.
But too, just from interviewing 1,000 women, 5 to 15% of women under 35 are on full OnlyFans, cam, or some sort of sex work. According, there's a guy who does research for me. He's really, Dr. David Baker. He's like a published author, really smart guy.
That seems high to me.
That's what I thought too. I swear to God, that's what I thought. Until I interviewed 1,000 women. I can't even count how many sex workers I've met.
But don't you think the kind of women?
No.
You don't think the kind of women who go on like
no, not at all.
relationship podcasts are kind of self-selecting?
No.
Don't you think the trad women just don't go on camera? That's been my experience.
No.
No, I think that.
No,
I think trad women.
Just like Michael Knowles pointed out, most traditional women won't choose to go on a camera, and therefore the people Pearl surrounds herself with has skewed her average. She basically lives in an echo chamber, and so her stats and anecdotes are not representative or truthworthy. There is a reasonable expectation in debates that the argument put forward has undergone some thinking, theorizing, and use of the human faculties. You will be severely disappointed if you hold that expectation from Pearl.
So do you think sex is important to men in a marriage?
Yes.
Okay. What do women want out of a marriage?
Stability.
Okay. And would you say you get that through long-term commitment, right? So what if I told you 1 in 4 marriages were sexless? 1 in 4.
I believe.
So who is it harder for then? If we're getting the commitment from him, but they're not getting the sex from us?
Wow.
There is absolutely no nuance to what she's saying. A sexless marriage is an indicator that both parties are not happy, instead of the warped perception that she has, where the woman is shrewdly getting what she wants while the man is suffering. All because Pearl has no capacity to think beyond 10 characters and can minimize a woman's wants in a relationship to long-term commitment and a man's to sex. It's like she has one setting, and no matter how illogical, she short circuits to women being the problem each time. If we look at the debate with Trent Horn, she is quite literally dying on the hill of being obedient to a man, even if he is morally compromised and leading you to sin.
Just as husbands should correct their wives if they have a really bad idea that could hurt the marriage, wives have that same role because husbands sometimes get pretty bad ideas that can be harmful.
Yeah, but who determines it?
The person with a rational brain in the marriage.
Yeah, so the men.
So I guess so what's nice is in this debate we know which side is the more rational one, right? My side's more rational.
Yeah, not simps. Respectfully, no offense.
Okay. The only simp here is you, Pearl. You simp for men.
No, I think you simp for women.
I think you let men get away with anything because you simp for them and like their attention.
Because of this airhead cadence that she has, there is no room for proper debating in her show, as she will brainlessly repeat her beliefs instead of debate the ones being offered to her. Destiny called her out on this.
Stuff like this is perfectly valid. I think splitting up duties in the household is like one of the most important parts of like a relationship, because it's where you're spending most of the time together. This is why I say, people get triggered when I say it, I don't think you're even dating until you live together, because until you live together, you don't really know who the other person's like. And once you start living together and you see what the household duties are like, then you get a feel for what the relationship is.
I mean, I just think that, like, I don't know. I feel like that stuff can be worked out. Chores, like,
hold on, wait. Do you understand? You're not saying anything. Do you do this intentionally? Where you're like, I don't know about that. I'm telling you that.
I mean, you're giving your opinion. I'm
not giving an opinion. I'm saying that in a household, this is not an opinion. I'm putting it forward as fact. In a house, delineation of chores is one of the most important things.
Amid her stupidity and hatred for women, she'll parrot a few things that are fundamental truths, such as the lack of nuclear families and the damage of OnlyFans. Once you listen to her for any longer, you realize there is no substance behind what she is saying. She fights radical feminism with reactionary anti-feminism, which are two sides of the same coin. There are a niche selection of incels that have to believe that women are evil and the problem, and Pearl graciously plays into that confirmation bias. She's no different to the OnlyFans girls that profit off of men's weaknesses. The message that Tate has left behind has been corrupted by Pearl. Imagine painting a world for men where all women are evil, marriage is rigged against you, your kids will be taken away from you, nothing is ever your responsibility, and everything is a woman's fault. Tate gave men power in personal responsibility, whereas Pearl will make men stay in nihilism and remain weaker and weaker.